Dodger fan thinks it will, because if it did work that way, the Padres would have had a much better season last year, along with the Mets.
That's right.
But they didn't,
That did not.
so.
I read, there was a op-ed, just a little op-ed piece, or not op-ed, but in the New York Times yesterday, the other day about baseball, how it breaks your heart. It was perfect. It was absolutely perfect.
It's
I haven't filled out
heartbreaking,
the form
and
yet.
That's what I love.
Are you gonna go
about
to
it,
either
because,
the dinner or
they're
the
always
donuts?
optimistic. There's
When is that? I
162
didn't
of them,
get that.
and,
There's something on LinkedIn
My
I saw.
husband and
I'll
I
give you the
we're
announcement. So
Warrior
Tuesday the
fans, 'cause our
12th
daughter lives
is the dinner at like
And,
4 to 6
we say,
at the substation.
always manage
I don't know.
to
They're serving
snatch
food. And then
feed from the
there's
jaws.
donuts on Saturday the 16th
They were winning
at the
last
substation
night.
from like 8 to 10 or something.
they've had a great season.
Are we recording? Jackie, are we recording? Are we good?
Oh, sorry. I didn't call-
It's okay.
I didn't call the meeting to order.
Not yet. We're about to though.
What's the time it starts going?
Apple says it's 4. All right. All right, I'll go ahead and call this meeting to order. And can you walk us through the roll call then, please?
Yes. It looks like Commissioner Andrade is absent. Okay. And Commissioner Sales? Commissioner Taylor?
Present.
Commissioner Vaughn?
Here.
Commissioner Woods Drake?
Here.
Vice Chair Dominguez?
Here.
Chair Morton?
Here.
All right. Let the record show that all commissioners are present with the absence of Commissioner Andrade.
Thank you very much. Let's go ahead and stand and do the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. I don't see any special presentations and proclamations on our agenda. Are you aware of any oral communications for us today?
We do not have any speakers at this time.
Excellent. Are there any changes to the agenda we should be aware of?
No changes.
Excellent. With that, I'll move to the approval of the minutes. Commissioners? Any speakers on?
There are no speakers on this item.
Thank you. Yes? Is there a hand? Okay, thank you.
I make a motion to approve the minutes.
Let's go ahead and move to vote.
Commissioner
Sales.
Sales.
She's going to give us something. She's going to give us something in a second.
Just quick training, so if you go on the floor tab, that's where you can click motion on the screen.
Okay.
Motion carries unanimously with Andrade absent.
And so just so you know, I'm just gonna interrupt, if you wanna make a motion, you can hit on the floor, and then you can hit motion, and then you can also hit second, and then it automatically records.
Should we voice it also, or?
It doesn't hurt to voice it as well, in case sometimes the, system is a little slow, so you
Okay.
can voice it, and she can also enter it.
With that, I think we can move to our chief action item for today, which is the review and approval of the Public Health and Safety Commission Annual Work Plan. As a reminder for the commissioners, we need to finalize this draft, and then it goes in front of the City Council for the review and approval. With that in mind, I did meet with the City Council earlier this week. We reviewed the comments that I received from the commissioners, also reviewed action plans, work plans from other commissions in Encinitas that the City Council has approved, and used sort of the language and the vision of those other commissions then incorporated into the draft that you see right now. Inside your plan for the day, there is a red line of the previous as well as a clear copy of that. I'd
Chair
suggest-
Morton, if I
Yes.
can make a clarification that
Sure.
you met with city staff, not with city council
Yes.
for the item?
Yes.
Yes.
I didn't mean to promote you. Yeah. Thank you very much. So I just suggest that we try to work through from the top down like we did before. We could start with the community outreach. It's right there.
I have a clarifying question before we
Sure.
get there. It looks like this new format is quite a bit different from the previous format. And for those of us that put in written comments, it's a little unclear if they were incorporated or if so, how. I'm wondering if maybe we can just get an overview of how that happened.
Yes. I did receive comments from Commissioner Vaughn as well as Commissioner Sales. And also took them incorporated like the previous commission items that had been approved by city council from other commissions as the example. The comments that I received from Commissioner Sales and Commissioner Vaughn seem to be visionary in scope as opposed to identifiable actions that we can provide to the commission here, which we can then go up. If you'd like to call out, is there something specific you'd like to bring up from your comments?
I'm basically asking, how do we want to do this? Because going line by line through the new thing, I don't see where we would address any of my comments, or very few of them.
Okay. I think the comments that you presented would fit underneath the Homeless Action Plan Subcommittee and would fall in line with how we would want to review, consider the actual vision for what the suggestions that we're going to make too. So in this work plan, what we're seeing is trying to have an actionable result that we're going to want the ad hoc to provide. So if you look under number 6, right? So as I saw it, we would take like your comments and the vision and how you want it to act. There'd be discussion in those ad hoc committees, and then you would make recommendations to this committee based on those discussions during your ad hoc. So I just didn't see like an actionable activity that we needed to have this verified with the city commission. This is what we're going to be doing in your comments.
To me, this looks a lot like a combination of the mental health request to have speakers in from the mental health spaces, and that's what I took this line to be reflecting.
Can I make a suggestion that maybe my understanding is in the last meeting, we went through 1, 2, and 3, and we seem to be in agreement on that. And then my understanding is we were in agreement on that, and then we moved to number 4 and so on. And then if there's suggestions that you put, which I read in the email, that we need to make adjustments to then we make adjustments to that, but go in order that way.
Is there a second?
I mean, I'm just making a suggestion. I'm not putting a motion up there, but my understanding at the end of last meeting is that 1, 2, and 3, we had already agreed that we were okay with that, and we're just moving to number 4 now and working through that.
Appears the commissioners are taking a moment to review the community outreach goals. Is that correct? Is that what the commissioners are doing right now?
Is there anyone that's just in disagreement that we have not already agreed on 1, 2, and 3?
You are in agreement?
I'm in
With 1,
agreement.
2, and 3?
That we should move to number 4 and start chipping away at that?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm happy to do that. Okay. So number 4 was added here. It is a word for word from the commission's guidance on what this commission should be doing, the city council's recommendation on what this commission should be doing. It also seemed to incorporate Commissioner Andrade's ideas for the resource readiness. Resource readiness would fall in sort of underneath the review of these things. So I put it here under ad hoc, but I was envisioning that this could actually just serve as the purpose for this meeting, right? I mean, so I didn't know if we wanted to actually have a small group that would review, which is more of the safety concerns as outlined by the city council, and that we all discuss that in this meeting, or I put it here in ad hoc just so that we could actually, work on that if that's where you guys wanted to go with that. So unlike the other 2 ad hoc committees, this is the one that is directly related to the safety mission of the commission. And again, the verbiage is from the city council's guidance on what we'll be doing here.
Chair Morton,
Yes.
if I may help a little clarification. So one of the things that Staff Liaison Lois Yum did was to go ahead and send out some examples of work plans. So a couple things, looking at other commissions' work plans, you notice there's probably anywhere from about 8 to 10 goals. You want these to be able to be accomplishable within your first year. With Commissioner Vaughn's, some of his suggestions, they were very detailed. What they can do is you can get more detailed when you're looking at the goal, but the goal needs to be a little bit more broad and encompassing. Even with Commissioner Sales, some of her suggestions as well, what the idea was to try to, you can take some of these very detailed goals and put them into the general ones as to what you want to do. Like some of them were looking at the different resources. Commissioner Sales happened to name several. We don't need to name all of them in the goal. It's basically just identifying organizations in which you do want to reach out and talk to, having guest speakers. The reason we put the homeless action plan in there is one of the things, for Commissioner Vaughn, it's very encompassing. It talks about a lot of things. So if the commission wants to review and look and make recommendations and examine that homeless action plan, that will take care of a lot of things. So we just looked at trying to streamline the work plan so that A, it was general enough that you could then put some of these very detailed things in once you start working. Number 2, we didn't want to have too many goals where you have 15, 16 where it's not going to be accomplishable. The other part is what you're doing too. If you remember, you're able to, after with your work plan, make any type of recommendations or changes that city council may want to adopt in some of these other documents. So that was just a little bit of the thinking, and that's why we sent out the other work plans. So they look very similar. So the goals are more broad, a little more overarching, but the commissions then can work on who they want to talk to, who they want to reach out to, and things like that. So I hope you understand that's kind of where we were coming from. And again, just following a lot of the other commissions that have been well established and what their work plans look like. But certainly once you do your ad hocs and you look at the goals, you are more than welcome to get yourselves more detailed. So I hope that sheds a little light into how some of the goals became a little more broad and overarching as opposed to being more specific.
I personally am kind of confused as to what the goals are trying to say now. It seems very different from when we left the last meeting. So if somebody could walk through what these goals are meant to say, because it seems like a lot of them are the same goal for 2 different ad hoc commissions and things. It's confusing to me.
I mean, I'm just looking at this. I would think for number 6, where it says invite speakers from different organizations on what services they provide to speak at a commission meeting, And 7, identify resources and gaps in services available to the community. My understanding would be that the goal is the same for both the mental health ad hoc as it is for the homeless. And so from there, each ad hoc can be doing both of these things. So if I were on the mental health ad hoc, which is where I would like to be, I would work with the rest of my team to invite speakers from NAMI, different organizations within that. And then whoever was on the homeless ad hoc could invite speakers from, Faith in Action and that sort of stuff. Similarly, the same thing can happen for number 7, identify resources and gaps. So if I were on the mental health, again, I would say, it's like perhaps we have gaps in our fentanyl, education. What can we do with that? Versus we know we don't have a shelter in Encinitas, so maybe that's something that the homeless ad hoc would work on. And that's how I'm reading it. I actually just want to say, thanks, James, for all your incredible work on this. I think that this encompasses a very broad picture of everything that we were talking, which allows us and the ad hoc committees to not be narrowed down by what we put on a piece of paper of what we're actually able to work on. This gives a large amount that we can focus on within the ad hoc while staying within those goals. So I also want to just acknowledge too for number 5, I think it's great including updates on fire, flooding, and police. And these are things we've heard from the community. And then as we scroll down, I think it's number 9 or 10. It talks about Olivenhain and what's happening there. So I think you've done a really good job of capturing what we've heard from the community and what we've been discussing in a way that is a bird's eye view as opposed to getting into the nitty gritty within the recommendation to the council. So thanks for your work on that.
Commissioner Taylor.
Yeah, I just to add a little context to this. I really like how this has been boiled down a lot, because when we last left off, there was a lot of detail in our action plan, and that those details were so in depth that it could really impact the accomplishment of those goals. So I appreciate getting these things boiled down. And the thing that we can remember is, the goal is very, simply stated and broad. Somewhat generic. What we do underneath those goals is, we can be as detailed as we need as long as we are able to accomplish the goals. So I would recommend, after looking through this now and bouncing between my notes and what's here, are there, using that as our mindset of what we have before us is extremely simplified and, kind of toned down a little bit. Are there any elements missing that we need to add? Because I think from my perspective, after going through this now a couple times, I feel pretty good about where it's at, especially after looking at some of the other commission's work plans.
Yeah, I don't see where we're going to begin the process of ending homelessness.
Would, for number 8, where it says promote education, prevention, and accessible resources, adding in there, promote education, prevention, and accessible resources that work to reduce homelessness.
Molly, I'm sorry.
Oh.
Go ahead, Vice Chair.
No, what I was going to say is that I'm looking at a revised draft, February 26, 2024, and it is different than what's on the screen right now. I'm not quite sure. Like, for instance, number 7 says, identify resources and gaps in services available to the community. And number 7's different here. I just don't know. Did we take this and make it concise?
If you could look at the revised draft that doesn't have the marked changes on it,
Okay.
I think that's what you'll see
Okay.
is the same document.
Okay, because
Yeah.
this document says invite speakers, and I don't see that on the document here.
Number 6, invite speakers. And is that not showing on number 6?
It says resource readiness, unless I'm I'm on the wrong page. I could be.
I
Yeah, I
believe you
think
might
you-
be on a different page. We provided different versions to show you all the changes that were made. The first attachment was the preliminary draft that we had created for the January meeting. The second attachment is a red line version, so it shows you all of the changes that were made. And then the third one is a clean version to show you the new revised draft.
Okay, okay.
Good.
Let me get to that. Sorry, Dan.
So there's another version, which is the one that you sent to us after the last meeting, which was a red line of the original version, and that was what we were invited to comment on, and several of us did. But then this new draft version looks like a start over, kind of, where once we get to the ad hoc committees, it doesn't really seem to track very much to the previous versions.
I think we took into consideration the input that was provided. One thing I'll note is from your email, one of the comments you had provided was it would be good to promote proven training / education opportunities like NAMI's family to family and so forth. We tried to cover that under item number 8, promote education, prevention, and accessible resources. So it's not tying it to a specific resource, but you can cover that in your ad hoc committee.
Yeah, I saw for the mental health comments where they, both of our comments did sort of make their way into the new version, although they didn't track very well to the old version. So I did see that. I didn't really see comments on the homelessness part, though.
If I can go ahead and intervene. So as far as comments, it's a work plan. So it's goals, it's not comments. So looking, if you want to pull up Commissioner Vaughn's comments. So looking over your comments, Commissioner Vaughn, we covered under number with mental health, that would go, as Lois said, under 8, about the proven training programs, and then advocating for county local mental health, that would fall under goal 8. Looking with homelessness, trying to emphasize by name lists, putting in place mechanisms to systematically capture input from city departments, that's in the HOPE, so that's number 9. Align collaboration to maximize impact of learning from the Buena Vista navigation, and maximize number of housing. That's in the homeless action plan as well, so that's number 9. If you look at Commissioner Sales, her comments would be covered under 7 and 6. So that's what it is. So as far as they are comments that were made, but again, they're goals. So a goal just needs to be clearly stated, but with the comments that you both sent in, they can be covered under goals 8, goal 9, goal 7, and goal 6. And Commissioner Woods was correct in the fact that there is a homeless ad hoc and the mental health. So what it would be is the goals are tracking for both ad hocs. So it would be those of you working on the homeless, your goals would be with homeless action, ending homelessness, helping the unhoused, and then as far as mental health, it's the mental health resources. It's what the community offers that focuses maybe on drug rehabilitation, things like that. So does that, I'm hoping that makes sense. That's where we went, is that there are comments, but we're trying to come up with a work plan that has to be approved by City Council. So it's a stated goal, and then you folks can work on that. And then once the goals are done, you will be able to have actionable outcomes that will have more comments, like who you met with, what you did, and things like that. So that's where we just tried to align that. So, because again, sending out the other commission work plans, they don't have a lot of comments. What they do is they have the actionable goals that we need so that we can measure the outcome. So I'm just hoping that helps. I know that a lot of you folks are new to commissions, and we're just trying to help streamline the process.
So if the idea is that all of the homeless specific activities are now captured under reviewing the homeless action plan,
If I could, under number 7, the broad statement of identify resources and gaps and services available to the community, that's under homeless. Those are both commissions, ad hoc committees, right? It's any improvement that you want to recommend or suggest would be in that goal of trying to identify resources and gaps and services available.
I don't know if you're following the request.
I am. You're up.
I remembered to use that.
Yeah.
So I guess maybe the better way to do this is, and I don't want to assume, but Dan, are you hoping to be on the homeless ad hoc committee or ad hoc or mental health?
Yeah, I very much would like to be on the homeless ad hoc, and I'm happy to be on either of the other two if there's space, but I don't need to be.
So my understanding of this, because you said like, this is the only one that's specific to homelessness, is 876 is specific to homelessness and mental health. So everything that you put in your notes, you would do on the homeless ad hoc. Everything that Robin put into her notes, I'm assuming Robin wants to be on mental health, would be done on the mental health. And all of the things that none of us have put into notes but happen to be on that ad hoc could be done. This is just a very overarching structure that all of those things fall under. And so everything that you put on your notes as someone on the homelessness ad hoc, that's what you would focus on. And everything Robin put in her notes, that's what we would focus on, and then whatever else the people wanted to do. So I think everything you said is captured in here is what I'm hearing from Jennifer Campbell, and
Yeah.
that's how it would work.
Vice
So
Chair
we say
Dominguez.
implement built for
Excuse
zero
me, Dan.
methodologies to begin the process
Dan.
of ending homelessness. People are speaking for me, and I don't think that's fair.
I'm just trying to follow the procession that's been requested and trying to get everybody to speak one at a time. Commissioner Vice Chair Dominguez?
Yeah, I just don't know if this is off topic because I'm going back to community outreach, but I thought, would it be helpful to mention something in community outreach to include the use of social media? We have this quarterly newsletter, and I don't know if that would be included as in that overarching goal of the quarterly newsletter.
I think that would be overarching, and I'm going to suggest that you're correct. That's a little bit off topic of what we're talking about right now.
Yeah, it is.
So hold
It
on to
is.
that, please. Commissioner Sales?
I would, so when the ad hocs meet, I agree with the structure, I like it, it's very simple and easy to follow. But when the ad hocs meet and come up with their actual work plan, does that need to be reported to the city council? What do we do with that? So, I don't know,
It
anybody can
comes
answer.
to us
Okay.
for discussion amongst all of us. And then it'd be part of our work plan, of our annual report, or recommendations that we make to the commission, to the city council.
Okay.
The request to speak is open. Did you want to talk, Dan? Okay.
So the first and most important comment for me for homelessness is to implement built for zero methodologies to begin the process of ending homelessness. That is not a comment, that is a goal. That it's a known process, it's well known to city council what that means. And for us to have alignment on implementing that built for zero methodology and beginning the process of ending homelessness is a statement, you know, it's an ambitious statement. It doesn't say that we're ending homelessness this year, so it's not something that's going to be judged on ending homelessness. The judgment is, have we implemented the methodologies that lead to this known process? And if we can't align on that as the focus of how we're approaching homelessness, I don't know how we make a dent in homelessness.
Commissioner Woodstrake?
My understanding is that would fall under number 7, identify resources. The resources is build for zero and gaps in services. That doesn't exist at the moment, so that would fall under number 7.
Commissioner Taylor?
What's available to be ordered, but I don't need to see all of the instructions and the menu, and the ingredients in there. And what was the name of your, the homeless zero or net zero? Built for zero. I feel like that's one of the main things that we'll be working on with the homeless piece, but I don't think it needs to be articulated in the goals because something may change, anything may change, something may happen. And then if we're working around that as the goal, then, that change may impact our ability to achieve that goal. But that, Built for Zero, it's one of many things that's going to be available to us with regards to that accomplishment, if any of that makes any sense. But, overall, these goals shouldn't be that detailed where we're calling out specific programs and or organizations. It should be very broad and overarching. So,
Vice Chair?
And I could use an example, right? Like for me, I would like to see extra patrols in the downtown Encinitas area, focusing on the bars at night. I'd like to fund the sheriff's department to look after more closely and extra patrols in the area of where the new dispensaries are. And I'd like to see more checkpoints, DUI checkpoints that we could fund the sheriff to do, right, through the city. And those are all very specific, right? But I don't think they probably belong in this plan.
Chair,
Oh, sorry, I think, to your point, everything you just said would fall in under number 5.
Yes.
Which is the beauty of this plan, is that I can sit up here and say all of the things that I would like to see, and they would fall under one of these. So I think it, again, doesn't pigeonhole us into only being able to do the things that we put on here, because I think Build for Zero is an incredible resource and program that exists, and I think we can likely identify other resources and programs that exist and, highlight those sorts of things. So I don't know if we want to continue to talk about, these. I would like to make a motion. But before we do that, I want to go back up to the community engagement. And I do think it's important to add in their social media as a form of communication. Or maybe just broaden it to,
Can you suggest some language?
let me see,
Commissioner Vaughn? Or, excuse me.
develop recommendations for launching a city quarterly newsletter, delivering valuable updates and resources on public safety. So maybe just develop recommendations for communication, including a city quarterly newsletter.
Including social media.
I just kept it broad of develop recommendations for communication, including a quarterly newsletter, because then communication could be social media, it could be an email, it could be
You're adding
different.
communication. That's the addition.
Yeah.
All areas of communication. Lois, you got that?
I think I got it.
Okay. Did you want to make a motion?
I don't want to, Dan, if you feel like you have more questions or comments on this, I don't want to shut that down with the motion. So I guess I would say, is there a need for more dialogue on this before we make a motion?
I'll be voting no. My strong feeling here is that the language of bureaucracy will lead to the status quo. And I didn't come here to support the status quo. I came here to try to use this as a tool to meaningfully improve our homelessness response.
Thank you, Dan.
Chair Morton, Maybe, is there anything else, Commissioner Vaughn? Are there maybe just a couple select words? You know, one of the things, if you go back to number 7, would it be better just to add the words, since you're talking about Built Zero? Could it be identify resources, methodologies, and gaps in services available? Just trying to come up with maybe a couple keywords that would make you feel more vested or more comfortable, Commissioner Vaughn, without being super specific. But that way, since Built for Zero is a methodology, it would be identify resources, methodologies, and gaps.
I think the goal has to be work towards ending homelessness or meaningfully reducing homelessness.
So what about for number 8, if we change it to promote education, prevention, work to reduce homelessness? Right, sorry. I'm just looking at the red line in number 5 of works to reduce homelessness and trying to figure out if there's a place to put that in somewhere.
I think it would have to be number 9 if it's specific to homelessness, because the other ones are sort of doing dual work on homelessness and mental health.
Well, if I could interject, there's two separate committees. There's the mental health. They're going to be doing their own thing, come up. And then there's going to be the homeless ad hoc subcommittee. So the homeless ad hoc subcommittee they're going to talk about homelessness. What are the concerns with that? What are your recommendations for the board, for the commission as a whole to consider, to recommend to the city council? So that's where you would come up with identify all of your methodologies, give some background on those methodologies so everybody understands, including the public, what those methodologies are, where they come from. So that's how that would work.
Yeah, so in the old version, number 5 was really tailored towards the reducing homelessness, and we'd changed the language in there at the very first meeting from supporting the homeless to reducing homelessness. And to me, that was a meaningful change. That meant that we weren't really trying to treat the symptom, we were trying to get at the root cause and reduce the suffering up front. And then in there was sort of 4 strategies that staff had come up with to sort of address that. And in my emailed response, I kind of tackled adjusting a couple of those to really sort of be specific in what we were trying to do. So in order to meaningfully address homelessness, you need to increase the stock of housing that's affordable to people that can't afford housing, right? And so there's specific tactics that we can do there, and focusing our efforts on those levers that really move the needle is, to me, very empowering. And you know, the steps about consulting experts and stuff that would be the same strategies for tackling mental health and homelessness, they're not wrong, but they're not specific. It's really hard to execute, especially once a quarter, on activities that are ambiguous. So that was where I was trying to get at.
We're just waiting for you to call on us, Commissioner.
Commissioner
and I
Woods
are-
Drake, thank you.
Thanks.
Commissioner Woods Drake, I mean, it is to reduce homelessness. I mean, if you look at City Council's goals, it's to try to get a roof over everyone's head. It's to try to provide affordable housing. I mean, I think the ultimate goal is we would love to have no unhoused folks in the city of Encinitas. It'd be great to have no unhoused folks anywhere. We would love that everyone has food on the table, a bed to sleep in, a roof over their head. So, yeah, those are the goals, I mean, of the Homeless Action Plan. And it's got different methods and different ways that we go about it. Obviously, the Buena Creek Navigation Center was one of the first, and that's having its ribbon cutting this Friday. It's trying to find people vouchers, it's food pantries, it's getting them the mental health assistance, it's workforce housing, it's trying to find them jobs, it's trying to find medical care. So it is all encompassing. But, you know, as commissioners, if Commissioner Vaughn feels like, again, there could be just some additional wording that you folks could all agree on. I mean, we do have to have, obviously, the commission, at least most of you, vote for the work plan. It's always nice when everyone does. So if you can just work together to maybe just wordsmith a little bit, that may help get the work plan forward. But we definitely would like to see if we can get something approved this evening so that we can get it to council on March 13th. That would be great. But yeah, the homeless action plan has a lot of different goals in it. And I do understand Commissioner Vaughn's concern, and I think we'd all like to get there. We really would.
Okay, yeah, I'm wondering if maybe we add at the end of number 9, just, so that it's written somewhere in our goals as well. Support, review, make possible recommendations on city's homeless action plan and work to reduce homelessness. And then that's specific to homelessness. And I will just say, I did not come to this commission to uphold the status quo either. And it is absolutely my goal to make sure that we're working towards homelessness, both as part of this commission and just as a member of the community here. And I will be in full support of any recommendations that are brought forth when we get into the details. But I don't think that the details are going to be in these goals. I think these goals encompass everything that you're talking about, Dan. I think everyone that's up here, what I'm hearing, has really robust ideas that they're going to put into those ad hoc committees. But if we need to, again, I'd say put work to reduce homelessness there. And if there's something that needs to go into either 6, 7, or 8, which is also specific to homelessness, then, we should make every effort to put that in there as well.
Commissioner Sales.
I've had experience of being too narrow with goals, and then at the year-end review, finding out that we weren't able to meet all of our objectives that we put under the goals. And I think that we don't want to set up an expectation in the community that we're going to end homelessness, because that's a long process. So reducing homelessness on a, in a measurable way, and looking at the data at the end of the year is a very good goal, and maybe that's what we need to add, but it looks like that might be subsumed under the homeless action plan, so we're sort of redundant. But I do understand what you're saying, but I also feel like when I was in that same situation, we felt a little boxed in. And at the end of the year, when we were reviewing everything we did, I said, we didn't do this, we didn't accomplish that. And I think when we work in the ad hocs, we'll be able to accomplish a lot more. In my opinion, we don't need to be that specific, but I don't think it hurts to put in and reduce homelessness and then drill down when you're in the ad hoc.
Yeah, I hear you. So, my world experience has been in incredibly ambitious startup cultures, and part of the culture in those spaces was to sort of aim for the moon or aim for the stars, and if you only make it to the moon, and so I'm not overly afraid of setting an ambitious target and failing to meet it, but still moving the needle and helping a lot of people. To me, that's a win.
Commissioner Taylor.
I don't think any of us are here to uphold or maintain the status quo either. But I think it's also important for us to remember that this commission is an advisory board. We don't have the power to, influence or change the homeless numbers. But what we can do is provide resources, research, data, and information to the council so they can impact those outcomes. And, so I want to see people off the streets as much as anybody. But I also think it's important to remember what we are. We are nothing more than an advisory commission. That's it. We don't have a vote with the city council. We can give them the information and the tools and advocate for those things, but, you know, that's it. So that's why I feel like saying reduce homelessness as a goal. We don't have any control of that. We have zero control of that goal.
Go ahead, Dan.
So yes, I hear you also. And again, from my professional experience, I led cross-functional project teams doing innovative, patient, life-changing drug development. And as the leader of cross-functional teams where everybody works for somebody else, I didn't have any power or control either when it comes to purse strings. But what I had was a microphone and a flashlight. And those are the tools we have. We can shine a light on where the pathways are. We can, to your point, gather the data and begin a process that's proven to end homelessness. Beginning a process doesn't mean ending the homelessness, but it is something that's measurable, specific, actionable, aligned, realistic, time-bound.
Yeah. And I think those are
I'm
covered
sorry.
in 7 and 8.
I'm sorry, Marlon. Commissioner Taylor. Woods Drake.
Is there anyone who's opposed to adding to number 9 works to reduce homelessness at the end? I think we can keep going back and forth, but I really think if we can just find the language in here that, Dan, you'll feel supported by. Is there anyone that's opposed to putting at the end of number 9, support review and make possible recommendations on city's homeless action plan and work to reduce homelessness? Would having that language in there, Dan, meet what you're requesting as far as us putting that as a clear goal?
Close enough.
Okay.
In that case, can I make a motion to approve the work plan?
You can, but I'm going to let him talk just first.
No, she handled what I was, and
Okay.
Dan, being in agreement, ends the discussion as far as I'm concerned.
Would you mind repeating the motion then? Thank you.
Can I make a motion to approve the work plan? Or I'd like to make a motion to approve the work plan.
As amended, I assume.
If I could, I would just like to make a friendly amendment to that. Number 5 under here, using the same sort of logic about redundancy and the overarching, it seems like there's support for actually having an ad hoc for that. So number 5 might just roll in under number 4, and so I might, if we are going to have this as a ad hoc, it might just be redundant. So I would just recommend striking that. Number 5.
I got out of there.
And so as
I'd like to see it in there simply because it references fire, flooding, police. I think it's really important for the community members who brought up concerns with fire and flooding to see that reflected in there. So I would recommend leaving it.
is that not in number 4 as well, up above? I guess fire and flooding specifically calls out the principal's concerns of the fire department?
No, from my view, 4 and 5 read completely different.
Okay.
Commissioners, before we approve the work plan, we'd also like to see if there's any other commissioners who'd like to be assigned to the ad hoc committees.
I would like to be on the mental health.
Okay. Yes, for homeless ad hoc committee, we already have Commissioner Vaughn. The mental health, wellness, substance abuse, and addiction ad hoc committee, we have Commissioner Sales and Commissioner Woods-Drake. For resource readiness ad hoc committee, we have Commissioner Andrade.
Sign me up for the resource readiness.
Me too.
I can work on homelessness as well.
And I would like to be involved in homelessness as well.
happy to join mental health if you'll have me.
We'll have you.
Sorry, is Chair Morton able to be on an ad hoc or, okay. So I'm also happy to not be on homelessness specifically if you wanted to be on that one, just because I know we could only have 3 on each. So I don't want to take a seat, 2 seats.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I feel like we have to be mindful of potential Brown Act if, if we're crossing too many lines.
And that's an important point. So there's 3 members on the ad hoc subcommittees. You're only communicating with each other, no one else, no other
She's on the-
commission members?
she's on
Because
the,
once you bring back those
resource committee.
recommendations and you're presenting it
I
to
talked to her.
the commission as a whole.
Yes, and if you're on multiple, you need to make sure that whatever ad hoc you were on, you were only discussing that ad hoc topic, not a different ad hoc topic.
I'm wondering, Commissioner Vaughn, if you'd be open to maybe switching or allowing Chair Morton to be on homelessness. I think homelessness and mental health are going to overlap a lot, so we might not want to have, I'll step off of homelessness to not have that overlap. But wondering if you'd be open to allowing Morton to be on mental health so that we don't have your overlap.
Yeah, that's fine.
If that's what you wanted to do.
I'm happy to just fill in there, right? Like the idea that, I should be on something. So, right there. So, given a preference, I'd be on mental health if I had to choose one. I'm happy to choose one. I'm also happy to choose 2 if you want me on the homelessness.
I think it's better that we don't have the same. So can you take me off of homelessness? Just because I think that those are going to overlap a bit, and to be careful about the Brown Act, I think it's best we don't have overlapping people.
Commissioner Sales?
Well, I am concerned, there is so much overlap and intersectionality between homelessness and mental health and addiction, so I don't see how we can actually separate it out, frankly. We can talk about anybody who's on the streets and using, people develop mental illness and addictions from living on the street and being unhoused, so I don't see how we could possibly separate the 2 out.
We talk about them here in the meeting, Robin. We just can't talk about them, like myself, you, and James can talk about it in our ad hoc, but then I can't go and talk to Dan and say this is everything that we're talking about in mental health. But obviously our plans are going to overlap when we come here and present them to each other.
Okay.
Yes, once you come together as a commission, you are good. Because you are in a public meeting, it's agendized, so that's correct. You could, and there is definitely crossover, but the goals and what you're each working on, that needs to stay separate. When you come together as a commission, then that's when you can meld that all together.
Commissioner Vaughn?
Yeah, sorry, I don't know if the work plan is exactly the right place, but if we're going back to city council with the work plan, would it be possible to go back to city council with a recommendation to meet monthly instead of quarterly?
Do our ad hoc committees need to meet here, or we can meet at a coffee shop, the 3 of us?
We need to meet here.
No. So we have talked, generally, you folks, since it's not a quorum and you're working on an item, it does not have to be here.
Okay, that's what I thought. So I would say I think we're fine meeting quarterly, being that the ad hoc committee should, or at least every other month, so that the ad hoc committees could meet prior to a meeting.
So my question was actually, are we allowed to make that? Is it appropriate to make that recommendation? Not, is it necessarily the wise recommendation, but
If the commission has that recommendation.
would it be part of the work plan, or would it be something that we would bring up with the work plan when it goes to them?
It could be
Is it
something you bring
consent
up with the
calendar
work
type
plan.
thing?
We could, currently it is, your commission was adopted in the Muni Code, municipal code, so council would have to go ahead and change that. So that was done. Commission establishment was done. So if that's something you would have to put that in there, council will have to take action because they would have to undo that.
Otherwise, we can just continue to call for special meetings, correct? Okay.
Yes.
And then would it be appropriate just to get a sense of the commission on what people think the frequency is most effective to?
We're just talking here. Sure.
I'd prefer to not have monthly meetings because I'd rather have some time to meet with the ad hoc committee, do research, and come and present. So I like the idea of special meetings where perhaps if an ad hoc feels like they have compiled a lot of information, we could call a special meeting to have them come back and present and share that information. But I would just say doing ad hoc meetings outside of here and having monthly meetings isn't something that I can manage with my schedule currently.
Commissioner Taylor?
I concur. I would prefer to not do additional monthly meetings on top of ad hoc meetings, on top of special meetings. So
Commissioner Sales?
I agree that we need time for the ad hocs to meet, and I wouldn't support monthly meetings.
Vice Chair?
I agree with that. I like the idea of monthly meetings, but I understand what you're talking about also. So one other thing I'd like to say is that speaking of these ad hoc committees, I think I'd probably be better placed in resource readiness with Andrade. I'm just looking at this and I'm thinking that's probably where I should be.
Okay.
So,
And
And looking at that, my question for staff is, can we have staff support for the ad hoc meetings?
No, that you are a commission, so you do your own. I mean, if you need possibly something from us, but staff would not attend the ad hoc committee meetings.
So what would an ad hoc committee of one look like?
Well, that's what I was just going to ask. Are you open to being on both? Or Marlon, open to being on both?
well, you were talking about getting off that committee. So
Only
I'm thinking
because
if I'm out, you're in.
I don't, my top priority would be being on the mental health, and I don't want to give that up to be on the homeless. And I don't think that's,
And I'll just add, this is a 3-year commitment for me, right? I imagine there'll be rotation on the ad hoc committees. I'm certainly happy just serving on the homelessness as it is. So that kind of, I don't know if that changes anything, but just, that's the only one at this time I'm going to be sitting on, will be the homelessness. Do we have 4 currently on ad hocs, Lois?
You can only have 3.
No. Suggested people that, do we have any ad hoc right now where there's 4 people?
No, currently you have 2 and 3. Would you like me to summarize the
Please.
assignments? So Homelessness Ad Hoc Committee is Commissioner Vaughn and Chair Morton. Mental Health, Wellness, Substance Abuse, and Addiction Ad Hoc Committee, we have Commissioner Sales and Commissioner Woods Drake. Resource Readiness Ad Hoc Committee, we have Commissioner Andrade, Commissioner Taylor, and Vice Chair Dominguez.
Okay. So there's a slot on homelessness and there's a slot on mental health.
I think we were going to leave those as is so that there's not overlap between mental health and homelessness.
Okay, so we're happy just having 2 then?
Yep. I mean, I'm fine.
yeah, I like the way that it's laid out because my biggest concern is Brown Act, which could completely derail everything. So I wouldn't change from what we currently have written down there.
Can I speak?
You
Yes.
can have 2 members. It's okay. Some other commissions on ad hocs just have 2, depending on what it is, but you just can't have more than 3.
Commissioner Sales?
If at some point we wanted to change the compositions, are we able to do that?
Once the work plan is submitted to city council and it is approved, you would have to wait till the next year to make changes. Remember, this will go to council on March 13th, so this is what they're approving. Any changes in the work plan generally don't happen. The only changes to the work plan is if city council gives something to the commission to do. So you'd need to keep the ad hocs as is, unless for some reason someone dropped off or something like that, yes.
I'm not seeing any speakers.
This is just me trying
Yeah.
to understand the process of the ad hocs going forward.
Sure.
So can we meet as a homeless ad hoc committee with the homeless solutions manager, for example, or would that would be appropriate?
Yes, that's fine. If you're looking to meet with groups, you can meet with your organizations. You can, if you need some information from city staff. Yeah, Commissioner Vaughn, that's fine. We're just saying that liaison Lois Young would not be attending all of the ad hocs, but if you need some additional or you want to meet with a certain staff member, that's fine.
Okay, gotcha.
I do believe we also have a presentation from the homeless services manager slated for the March meeting too.
Again, I'm not seeing any speakers. I feel like there's consensus here. Move to the vote.
Motion carries unanimously with Commissioner Andrade absent.
Excellent. Thank you, everybody. That moves us to informational items. Not familiar with what's under informational items?
There are none.
Excellent. We do not have any commissioner member initiated agenda items that I'm aware of.
There are none.
Excellent. We do have future agenda items that are on the list. We threw in 4 at our next meeting. Do we want to review those 4? Is everybody aligned with talking about all 4 at the next meeting?
Would you mind reminding me what those are?
I'm going to rely on Lois.
Excuse me, those items are not listed on the agenda, so those have already been identified in a previous meeting.
Yes.
So staff can agendize, they'll work with the chair, and then staff can review, timing of, do you want 2, do you want 2, just to make sure that the meeting can be done in an appropriate amount of time.
All right.
Is it within the agendized item to just ask for a recap of what's already queued so that we
Just a
don't
recap, but no
redundant?
discussion.
Yeah,
No
so that
discussion.
we're not redundant with things that have already been requested?
Yeah.
It is in the meeting minutes, so we could review that.
If you could then please just read off the 4 things that we...
Yes, so we have an update on the Fitch and Associates reports and recommendations. Commissioner Sales to provide an update regarding CareCorps and the county task force on SB 43. An update from the Homeless Solutions Manager. And the last one is an update regarding mental health resources for fire and sheriff personnel.
I'm inclined to ask you, how long is the presentation? And the only name that I heard in there was was yours. I know there's others as well. So, no, for next, like, how long? I guess that's the good question for me. About how much time would you like to have on the agenda in order for the presentation?
It depends on the level of specificity that we're looking at. I mean, there's a lot going on right now with both CareCorps and SB 43. And the County Board of Supervisors is going to hear a report back on SB 43, an interim report on March 12th. So that's right before our next meeting. So I'll have a bit to report about what was said at those meetings and what's being done. There's been a lot of action in the last 2 months. So why don't we say no more than 15 minutes?
You think a 15-minute discussion? Okay.
No more than that. I'm sure I could do it less, but.
And the other commissioners, the recommendations? How long do you think you need for the agenda?
Just a point of order. Are we discussing the thing or are we just getting a written recap?
Yeah, point of order. So that was just a recap. We're not to discuss future items. We will work as staff with the chair, which is Chair Morton, to schedule the speakers. Generally, speakers are about anywhere between 10 and 15 minutes and then time for discussion. So we will work with the chair to set those up and calendar those appropriately.
Understood. Thank you very much. Are there any new agenda items that people would like to bring up? I'm not hearing anything.
Actually, this isn't really exactly that, but it's a point of clarification, just
Sure.
how in general going forward will the ad hoc committees be reporting into the Commission of the Whole? Is that sort of a typical agenda item on?
I think
meetings?
number 12, commission reports. No?
No, commissioners, your work plan will always be an item on the agenda. That's what every other commission does, so you will always have as an action item, discussion and action on your work plan. So when the work plan is discussed every meeting, that's when updates can be given by the ad hocs on the different goals.
Thank you. Thank you for that question. It was great. I think Commissioner Taylor?
I think I just want clarity on this one. For informational items, will that be the place where presentations from the sheriff and fire chief come from?
Yes, just like the December meeting, their presentations were under Category 9 informational items.
Okay.
I'm not aware of any commission reports or the roundtable. Anybody?
So I don't have an extensive report, but just wanted to share information that on March 20th, there is a town hall hosted by Senator Blake Spear, DA Summer Stephen, and Chief Gordon will be there as well on fentanyl. That's 6 p.m. till 7:30 p.m. on March 20th. So if anyone wants additional information about signing up for that, I'm happy to share it.
Yeah, I just have before I speak, I just wanted to understand what is commission reports intended to be.
Generally, sort of exactly what Commissioner Woods-Drake. From other commissions, for instance, when we had Park and Rec Commission, if a commissioner attended an event and wanted to report out, it's similar to the AB 1234 that City Council does, where they talk about if they were on the NCTD board or SANDAG, or if they attended a meeting. So if you attend or know of something that would be of pertinence to the Public Health and Safety Commission, it's just a simple report out. That's what that's for.
Okay, good. That's kind of what I was thinking. So I wanted to let people know that I went to the Buena Vista Navigation Center open house for the basically the social services sector. So the other people that were there were largely people working in the homeless response space. And it was regional. It was Vista, it was Encinitas, but it was also Carlsbad, Oceanside, county representatives, et cetera. The facility itself is a neat space. They've done some nice renovations to buildings that have been available in sort of homelessness response one way or another for a few decades. The housing includes four units, each with 6 bedrooms, each with 2 beds. So it will be a meaningful number of
12,
beds.
yep.
Interestingly, there's also housing for staff, which was pretty impactful to me, realizing that, we don't pay the people in the homeless response sector enough to afford to live in our communities. So the housing for the staff is very, very similar to the housing for the guests, with the exception of 1 bedroom, which is a little bit more of a master bedroom setup for the salaried manager of security, sort of on-site presence. But it looks like it'll be a pretty powerful facility. The folks running it also run Green Oaks Ranch and seem to have a passion for the space and a lot of experience.
Commissioner Sales? Well, excuse me. Go ahead, Commissioner Taylor. Let's just go down the line.
All right. Thank you. This morning, I was in a meeting with Congressman Mike Levin, and a couple of things that I want to share with the commission that's germane to what we are doing is one of the things he discussed was the community project funding that he has access to. Each congressman gets 15 projects that they can provide funding to. And one of the things that we can look at is potentially the idea of maybe some of our work plans may fall into a bucket that we can, put together something that could be funded in that regard. There's one caveat, given the times that we are in, that these projects have to be devoid of. The projects can't have anything to do with any DEI-related matters or any LGBTQ support, so that has to be taken into consideration. Additionally, he talked about a bill that is being worked on now called the Helper Act, and this ties into our affordable housing situation. It's a home loan program that will be designed for teachers and people that were considered essential workers. The initiative, if passed, will look very similar to the VA loan program, where these workers, teachers, firefighters, police officers, can get home loans at a very low to reasonable interest rate. So, just a couple things that we may want to consider to keep on our radar, and just good informational stuff. That's all I have.
Yeah,
Can I go?
Robin, yeah.
I had a question. You said the ribbon cutting for the Buena Vista Navigation Program is this week? I heard.
It is, it's an invite only, from what I understand. It's for, it was for dignitaries and things like that. I'm not sure if it's open to the public at this time.
Okay. I did want to, what activities are we, I know, because we're working on a work plan and we don't have the specifics yet, but one of the goals was to be out in the community and attending some of these events. And will we have a list of events? How will we know, or should we wait until we ad hocs meet and decide what activities and how we're going to split it up so that we have representation?
Well, I think that's actually an all, so that's something that we could use your help. The city will provide, I would imagine, some opportunities for us.
So for general events, we have them on the City Events and Needs website calendar. So like for the Parks and Recreation, any public meetings, they will be on the city website. If there's any other meetings or calendar events that you're aware of, those can be mentioned during the ad hoc committee or at the regular commission meetings.
So we should probably just get in the habit of every 3 months when we're meeting, talking about how we're going to liaise going forward. Vice Chair Dominguez, did you have any questions? I'll just add, I was aware of March 12th, there's a dinner with the deputy at the North Substation, and on December 16th, you can get donuts with them as well. Are there times? Is there more information?
Thank you, Commissioner. So just to clarify, Dinner with the Deputy is actually being sponsored by Vigalucci's, and it'll be at the restaurant.
Oh,
And
thank
then
you.
You're welcome. And then that is from 4:30 to 6 p.m. Again, at Vigalucci's. 530 North.
It's
I'm
Tuesday
sorry?
the 12th?
Yes, March 12th.
Tuesday the 12th.
And then to follow up, the 16th Donuts with the Deputy, that's going to be hosted by Broad Street Dough Co.
Okay.
And that is from 8 a.m. to 9:30. 967 South Coast Highway.
Excellent.
Disclaimer, just want to let you folks know, since you are an established commission, if you do go to an event such as Dinner with the Deputies and you were there, you are not to discuss commission business. You are more than happy to attend, ask whatever questions you like of our deputies, enjoy a fabulous meal, but you need to make sure that we're not discussing commission business.
Freedom. Great. Like that. We're adjourned.
We have to make a motion.
We don't.
You don't have to make a motion?
No, I learned in training I don't.
Okay.
What time is Donuts with the Deputy?
8:30 to 10.
Yes, let's
Dan, when do you want to get together?
Every week?
I'm still underemployed, so I got nothing but time, everybody. I got nothing but time. Nothing but time.
And you know,
Same place